My name is Michael Markowitz, and I'm the chair of this panel. And if you're in the right room, this is political reform. If you're not, you better hurry and get somewhere else. But, each of our presenters is suggested to limit their presentations to only 5 minutes so that we can have more time for discussion. I'll let each of them introduce themselves and give their presentations. I suppose the issue that I really want to begin with is some observations that I have about the potential that we have for the reform of drug policies today. My background is one of criminology and sociology, and I have seen a trend and commented on the phenomenon of the criminalization of drug abuse, of someone who is an addict being viewed as a criminal rather than as someone who is ill. And some of the research that I've done has highlighted on the role of history, political power, and ideology on how drug use and drug policies come to be viewed in society. And I think one of the dangers that I have seen, and one of the things that I do research on and try to write about, is the danger of viewing an illness as a crime, and what criminalizing the addict has done to the problem of drug abuse in American society. I mean, we are so crime control oriented and we focus so heavily on the more negative and violent aspects of it that we're losing sight that addiction is an illness and needs to be treated as an illness. And as a brief end to a brief statement, I think that probably the most hopeful prospect for any effective change in drug policy in this regard is to recognize that individuals are at the heart of this problem, that it is an illness, and it's something that needs to be addressed as such, and not as a crime. And that's basically all I have to say. So I will begin down here with Mr. Harlow, and we can work our way down.
Thank you. I'm Eric Harlow. I'm from Mountain View, California. I founded a group 3 years ago called Save Our Liberties, and just earlier this year a new one called the National Coalition Against Prohibition, on which I think I also have some papers on your seats on. I had anticipated 15 minutes, so I guess I'll go very quickly to 5, but that's okay. The idea that I have can be expressed in a paragraph, and I've only got one left up here, but you can get copies from me in the future. This is 1,000,000 points of energy. I submitted it for publication for this conference, and I guess it wasn't good enough, but at least I'm here. So what can I say? My feeling is, very simply, is with some polls showing nearly 37% for ending the prohibition of drugs, that means in every precinct in this country there are from anywhere from 75 to 150 people that support this. So far, it's only you, right? The rest of it is what I'm interested in is forming a national coalition with you folks here and the groups that you belong to and the people that they know that they belong to. We all form an interrelated network of information and support, and basically to change what we were told this morning we shouldn't be worrying about, and that's the legislative branch of the system. We're not going to have any support in the presidency. We're not going to have any support in the federal government. We're not going to have any support in the judiciary. The only place we can have support is where we make it. Now, I profess to you that you folks realize that for many years now the Democrats haven't been winning very much, right? They haven't been throwing up and doing the right things in many ways. But one of the most important things that they haven't been doing is supporting a candidate who is anti-prohibitionist. Between 18 and 38, the last 20 years of our increasing age population, only about 20 to 23% have voted in recent elections. The rest of them have stayed home and voted with their feet. And the reason is that they don't have a candidate that will express this anti-prohibitionist point of view. My experience, and I'll answer questions to this, there is a book, it's called Intemperance. It's by a guy by the name of Engelman, and he makes an assertion that the prohibition of alcohol went down with the battle cry of liberty, lower taxes, and prosperity. We repeat yesterday's lesson. We have the same victory as our result. That's what we're talking about here. People that were for prohibition were converted to become anti-prohibitionists when they realized that prohibition was the enemy. We hear about this drug, how bad it is, and how bad this effect is, but the real issue is how bad is prohibition to the country as a whole. That's what we have to focus our energies on. And when I talk to people, when I'm up to somebody that says, well, tell me why you're where you're at, I say, I'd like to ask you one question. Tell me what is good that you know about prohibition of drugs. And there's a dead silence most often for anyone that has been thinking about it. And the person that hasn't been thinking about it will give you some bad answers that don't mean anything. You can say, you can kiss them come by and go on to your next soft no. This is the key here. That's the whole point, and that's where I'll leave it. And please ask questions about what we're going to do, how many people get involved, and take the idea that there's only one vehicle out here to do that, and that happens to be the Democratic Party. There was a Democratic Party in the late 20s who had a strong, I'm very strong on alcohol prohibition stand, just like they have this Me Too, I'm strong on drug prohibition stand. Okay, that they have this, the Democrats have the same Me Too prohibition stance today on drugs that they had in the 1920s on the Me Too on alcohol prohibition. And between 28 and 32, the Democratic Party switched its philosophy on this, removed Me Too Democrats, replaced them with grassroots activities with anti-prohibitionist candidates, had these people become part of the state legislators and delegates to the Chicago Convention in Chicago of 1932, June. FDR was the lead runner at that time for the Democrats. The incumbent, Hoover, were running neck and neck. The day after this plank was passed to repeal the 18th Amendment, FDR's popularity shot through the roof, and Hoover never caught him after that. It was like the race was over. That was it. Because there's 40% of the population then supported anti-prohibitionism, but nobody represented it until the Democrats did, and that's exactly where we're at today. And that's all we have to do is to convince the Democrats, or we tell them, look, if you're not convincible, we'll get somebody in here to take your job. This is history. You can pull this out of a college library or something like that in Temperance, Engelman, and tell them this is how it worked and this is how it's going to work because I'm committed to it. Now that's the key. I'm 58 years old come February. I got 4 grandchildren. The youngest was 11 years old on Monday, and I don't want him to grow up in a police state, and I don't want him to have to piss in the bottle to get a job at Jack in the Box. And I'm going to dedicate the rest of my entire life to this, or until this thing is over, or as Jack Hare says, until I'm 84. And I don't think it'll take until I'm 84 if we all do that, to come to grips with the fact that the Drug Policy Foundation brings us together and has us realize that they're going to make it respectable to be anti-drug war. We don't want to talk about drug war. That places the emphasis. We're anti-prohibitionists. That's where we want to place the emphasis. When they say anti-drugs, when they say legalization, you say I'm anti-prohibitionist. Center and focus always, and come back to that word every time, and you'll catch the audience, you'll catch the people. Time's up. Thank you.